Welcome to the deep dive.
It's funny. We toss around terms like the cloud almost without even thinking.
Yeah,
But you sent in some articles that really dig into where cloud computing is headed. And I gotta say, it's not just about faster downloads anymore.
it really isn't. What's fascinating here is we're talking about a fundamental shift in how we work, how businesses operate, even how our world is structured. When one of your sources throws out a figure like the cloud market hitting $1 trillion by 2030.
Trillion with a T.
Exactly. It really drives home the point that this impacts everything. Your investments, the job market, even just the everyday things you buy. They're all caught up in this cloud revolution.
It's almost like we take it for granted, like I'm just streaming my favorite show, but behind the scenes, it's all cloud powered. And think about this. Even something as simple as your smart refrigerator reordering milk.
Oh, yeah.
That's only possible because of the cloud. It's all connected.
Okay, that makes sense. But one of the things in these articles that really caught my eye was this idea of edge computing. Honestly, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie to me.
I get that.
Yeah.
But think of it this way. Imagine a world with self-driving cars everywhere. Those cars need to make split-second decisions based on tons of data. Right.
Yeah, like don't hit that pedestrian kind of data.
Exactly. And that data can't be stuck in some massive data center miles away. It needs to be processed instantly, as close to the action as possible. That's where the edge comes in. It's like having mini data centers scattered everywhere, making everything lightning fast and responsive.
So instead of the data traveling all the way to a central hub, it's being handled almost instantly, right where it's needed.
Precisely. One of the reports you shared predicts that by 2025, a whopping 75% of enterprise data will be created and processed outside traditional data centers.
Wow.
This isn't some distant future, it's just around the corner.
Yeah.
And this shift towards edge computing will be a major catalyst for even faster and more responsive technologies.
Okay, that is pretty mind-blowing when you put it that way. But then these articles go even further, talking about how AI is going to be a huge part of this cloud-powered future. This whole AI as a service thing sounds like it could be a game changer.
It definitely has the potential. What's exciting is the democratization aspect. For a long time, powerful AI tools were only accessible to big tech companies with massive resources. But with AI as a service, imagine small businesses, even individuals, having access to these incredible tools.
So instead of needing a team of data scientists on staff, a small business owner could just subscribe to an AI service that helps them analyze their sales data or something.
Exactly. Or imagine having AI personalize your customer shopping experience, or automate tedious tasks. The possibilities are truly immense.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. But I have to admit, whenever I hear about AI, there's a part of me that gets a little uneasy.
I understand there are a lot of valid concerns about AI being misused, but let's not forget that AI at its core is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
So it's more about how we choose to develop and implement AI rather than fearing the technology itself.
Exactly. The key is to approach AI development responsibly and ethically, ensuring transparency and fairness. And as users, we need to be informed about how AI is being used and advocate for its responsible application.
That makes sense. Okay, so we've got super fast edge computing, AI becoming more accessible. What else is on the horizon for the cloud?
Well, another interesting trend is the rise of serverless computing. I know the name might sound a bit strange.
Just a little. Like, where did the servers go? Did someone hide them?
They're still there, but the difference is that developers don't have to manage them directly anymore.
Okay.
It's like using electricity, you get the benefit without worrying about managing the power plant.
Okay, that's a good analogy. So what does that actually mean for someone who's not a developer?
Think of it this way. Because developers can work more efficiently and launch new applications faster with serverless, we're likely to see a wave of new tools and services hitting the market, all powered by the cloud. And that means more options, more innovation, and potentially even lower costs for users.
So it's about simplifying the back end to unlock a ton of possibilities on the user end. But I have to ask, with all these different cloud services popping up, edge computing, AI, serverless, do businesses just pick one and stick with it? Or are they juggling multiple providers?
That's a great question, and it leads us to another fascinating trend, the rise of the multi-cloud approach.
Multi-cloud, you mean like having multiple accounts with different email providers?
It's a similar concept, but on a much larger scale. Many businesses are choosing to spread their data and applications across different cloud providers instead of putting all their eggs in one basket.
Interesting. So why would they do that? Wouldn't it be simpler to stick with just one?
There are a few key reasons. One is flexibility. Different providers excel in different areas. So a business might choose one provider for its AI capabilities, another for its data storage, and a third for its cybersecurity.
So it's kind of like diversifying your investments. You don't want to put all your money in one stock, right?
Exactly. Spreading your risk across multiple providers can also make your systems more resilient. If one provider experiences an outage, you have others to fall back on.
That makes sense. But hold on a second. Doesn't one of these articles talk about quantum computers being in the cloud soon? Are we jumping ahead a few decades here?
Not necessarily. This is where things get truly mind-bending. But the reality is that companies like IBM and Google are already investing heavily in quantum computing infrastructure. They're playing the long game, and for good reason.
So we're not talking about replacing our laptops with quantum computers anytime soon, but more like having access to this incredible processing power through the cloud.
That's the idea. Now, to understand why this is such a big deal, we need to talk a little bit about what makes quantum computing so different from the computers we use today. Think of it this way. The computers we use today process information as bits, which can be either a 0 or a 1.
Right.
Quantum computers use qubits, which can be both a 0 and a 1 at the same time.
Okay, that's where I have to ask, how is that even possible? It's like saying something can be both black and white at the same time.
It is a bit of a head-scratcher, I'll admit.
Yeah.
It comes down to the strange world of quantum mechanics, where the rules of the subatomic world take over.
Right.
But the key takeaway is this. This both-at-once ability allows quantum computers to tackle certain types of problems that would take our current computers, like billions of years, to solve.
So problems that are practically impossible for even the most powerful computers today become solvable with quantum computing. What kind of problems are we talking about?
Imagine developing entirely new drugs by simulating complex molecules,
Wow.
revolutionizing material science by designing new materials from the atom up, or cracking the codes that protect our online data.
Oh, wow.
These are just a few areas where quantum computing could have a massive impact.
That's incredible. But if quantum computers are so powerful, why aren't we all using them already?
Well, that's the catch. Building and maintaining these quantum machines is incredibly complex and expensive right now.
Right.
That's why this idea of quantum as a service is so intriguing.
So instead of needing a lab full of quantum physicists, you could just tap into this power through the cloud, just like we were talking about with AI.
Precisely. It might seem like science fiction, but if we can make quantum computing accessible through the cloud, who knows what we could achieve? It could be the key to solving some of humanity's biggest challenges.
Wow. Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from edge computing to AI to this mind-blowing world of quantum computing.
Yeah.
It really seems like the future of cloud computing is all about making these incredibly powerful tools available to more and more people.
It really is, yeah.
But I have to ask, with all this power at our fingertips, what does it mean for us, the users? I mean, how do we even begin to prepare for a future where all of this is commonplace?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It's easy to get swept up in the excitement of new technologies, but it's equally important to consider their impact on society.
Right.
One of the things your articles really highlight is that the cloud isn't just changing what we do, it's changing who we need to be.
Like, are we all going to have to become programmers or something? Because I barely know how to code HTML.
It's not necessarily about everyone becoming a coding whiz overnight.
Okay.
It's more about developing a different kind of literacy, a cloud literacy, if you will.
Cloud literacy. What does that even mean?
It's about understanding the fundamentals of how cloud computing works, its potential benefits and risks, and how to navigate this increasingly cloud-dependent world.
So, like, knowing the difference between edge computing and serverless computing.
Well, that's part of it, but it goes beyond technical jargon.
Okay.
It's also about being aware of the ethical implications of these technologies,
Right.
understanding how our data is being used, and advocating for responsible innovation.
That makes sense. It's kind of like how we teach kids about internet safety today. It's not just about knowing how to use a web browser. It's about being responsible digital citizens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like with the internet, the cloud is going to touch nearly every aspect of our lives.
Right.
Our jobs, our relationships, our education, even our healthcare.
Speaking of jobs, I know one of these articles talked about how the cloud is going to create a ton of new job opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also that some jobs might become obsolete.
Right.
That's a bit unnerving, to be honest.
It's understandable to feel a bit apprehensive.
Yeah.
We've seen this pattern throughout history. New technologies come along and disrupt the status quo.
Yeah.
But remember, disruption isn't always a bad thing It can create new opportunities and lead to positive change.
So it's not necessarily about robots taking over our jobs, but more like the types of jobs we do are going to evolve.
Exactly. And that's where cloud literacy comes in again.
Okay.
By understanding how these technologies work and the skills they require, we can adapt and thrive in this changing landscape.
So what you're saying is we need to be adaptable and keep learning new things. It's not enough to just coast on what we already know.
Precisely.
Right.
Lifelong learning is no longer just a nice idea,
Yeah.
it's becoming essential.
Yeah.
And that's true whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out in your career.
So what you're saying is that everyone listening should probably brush up on their coding skills.
While coding is definitely becoming a valuable skill across many fields, it's not the be-all and end-all.
Okay.
Just as important are skills like problem solving, critical thinking, and adaptability.
Right.
These are skills that will be in high demand no matter how technology evolves.
So it's not just about learning specific technical skills, it's about cultivating a mindset of continuous learning and adaptability.
Absolutely. The future belongs to those who are curious, who are willing to embrace change, and who never stop learning.
Right.
And the cloud, for all its complexities and challenges, represents a powerful tool for enabling that future.
That's actually a really empowering way to think about it.
Yeah.
But, it's easy to get caught up in all the positive potential of the cloud.
It is.
We have to acknowledge that there are some potential downsides too, right? It's kind of like we're so busy talking about all the amazing things the cloud can do that we forget to ask what could possibly go wrong.
Yeah, it's like anything else. With great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
And these articles you've shared don't shy away from the potential risks. One that really jumps out is the whole issue of security.
Which makes sense. We're talking about putting tons of data, including really sensitive stuff, onto these massive networks. It's like building a digital fortress, but how do we make sure no one can break in?
And it's not just about keeping hackers out.
Right.
It's also about making sure that our data is being used responsibly, ethically.
Right.
One of your articles called Data Privacy, the Elephant in the Server Room. And I think that's a really apt analogy.
Because we often don't even think about it, right? We
Yeah.
just click agree without reading those endless terms and conditions.
Exactly. But as we become more reliant on cloud services, we need to start asking ourselves tough questions.
Yeah.
Who has access to our data? How is it being used?
Yeah.
And do we have any control over it?
It's a bit unnerving when you really think about it. All our online activity, our preferences, our locations, it's all being tracked and stored somewhere in the cloud.
It is. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the one hand, all that data can be used to personalize our experiences, make our lives more convenient. But on the other hand, it does raise some valid concerns about surveillance and potential misuse.
So what can we do about it as users? I mean,
Yeah.
besides actually reading those terms and conditions, which, let's be honest, no one really does.
You're right. It often feels like we're just one small voice in a vast digital ocean.
Yeah.
But we can start by being more aware of the choices we're making.
Okay.
Do we really need to share our location data with every app? Do we want our browsing history to be tracked and sold?
So being more mindful of our digital footprint, that makes sense. But it feels like a lot of this comes down to trusting these big tech companies to do the right thing.
And that's why transparency is so important.
Right.
We need to demand clear information from cloud providers about how our data is being used.
Yeah.
And we need to hold them accountable, push for regulations that protect user privacy and data security.
Okay, so we've talked about security, privacy. Anything else we should be thinking about when it comes to the potential downsides of the cloud?
Well, one issue that doesn't get as much attention,
Yeah.
but is certainly important, is the environmental impact of cloud computing.
Oh, right. Because those massive data centers must use a ton of energy to keep everything running, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
As more and more of our lives move online, the demand for data storage and processing power just keeps growing. And all that computing power requires electricity, which often comes from fossil fuels, contributing to climate change.
So our digital lives are actually having a real-world impact on the environment.
They are, yeah.
Hmm.
The good news is that many cloud providers are aware of this
Okay.
and are investing in renewable energy sources for their data centers. And there are also initiatives focused on making cloud infrastructure more energy efficient.
So it's not all doom and gloom. There's hope for a greener cloud in the future.
Absolutely. But it requires a multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
We need cloud providers to prioritize sustainability.
Right.
We need governments to incentivize green energy solutions.
Yeah.
And we, as users, can do our part by choosing providers with strong environmental track records.
It's like you said earlier, knowledge is power. The more we understand about the complexities of cloud computing, both its potential and its pitfalls, the better equipped we are to navigate this rapidly evolving landscape.
Precisely, and that's really what this deep dive has been all about.
Yeah.
Not just explaining the technology, but exploring its potential impact on our world and our lives.
And hopefully getting people thinking about the role they want to play in shaping the future of the cloud.
Because ultimately, it's not just about bits and bytes and algorithms.
Right.
It's about people.
Right.
It's about leveraging this powerful technology in a way that benefits humanity as a whole.
Well said. What a journey this has been. We've covered so much ground, from quantum leaps in computing to the very real challenges of security and sustainability.
We have, and we've only just scratched the
I
surface.
know, right?
But hopefully, this deep dive has sparked some curiosity,
Definitely.
maybe even a little bit of healthy skepticism.
Because the future of the cloud isn't something that's just happening to us. It's something we're all actively creating.
And that's a powerful thought to leave you with.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Absolutely. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on.